I really doubt that we're going to see an inflationary cycle.
1 year later, and inflation remains at a 40-year high. Yes, the pace of inflation slowed 0.3% in April, but that was largely due to a 6.1% decline in gasoline prices. And already gas prices have rebounded to hit a new record high.
Oh, it's way too high.
This is outrageous.
It's just out of hand.
Not that great.
The Consumer Price Index rose 8.3% over the last 12 months, which was down slightly from 8.5% in March. But the inflation rate over the last 3 months is 9.9%. Now, if this means we've reached, quote, peak inflation, as the transitory inflation crowd likes to spin it, in actuality, we've merely fallen from Mount Everest to K2.
I'm taking inflation very seriously, and it's my top domestic priority.
In an effort to get ahead of April's inflation report, Joe Biden gave a speech rehashing his well-worn proposals to reduce prices, boost subsidies, raise taxes, and increase regulation. But much like George Costanza in TV's Seinfeld, Mr. Biden needs to better read the signs.
If every instinct you have is wrong, then the opposite would have to be right.
You do see the slowdown, so that's better than bad news. But I'm a little hesitant to call it good news because we don't know, of course, where it's going to go in the next few months.
The Biden administration blames rising inflation on supply chain issues related to the pandemic and the war in Ukraine, omitting Democrats' near $2 trillion spendathon last March.
American farmers understand Putin's war has cut off critical sources of food. Ukraine was the world's largest producer of wheat and corn and cooking oil.
But rising inflation in services, such as airfares and the cost of staying in a hotel, demonstrate that inflation has spread across most of the economy and is becoming embedded in business pricing and expectations. That makes it much harder for the Federal Reserve to reduce it without even tighter monetary policy.
He is acutely aware of these challenges, and that's why he has dispatched his economic team. We are on the case.
The bad inflation report also turned what looked like a rally in equities on Wednesday into another down day. Investors are probably concluding that with so-called peak inflation more durable than expected, the Fed may have to raise interest rates even higher than it's estimated. That increases the odds of recession unless the Fed loses its anti-inflation nerve.
Expert calculations say Democrats' $2 trillion spending spree last March is directly responsible for as much as 3 percentage points of our current inflation.
April's inflation report exposes the fantasy that the Biden-Pelosi-Schumer policy mix of blowout spending and easy money is good for working Americans. Many learned this lesson the hard way in the 1970s, and today a new generation is having to learn it again.
Turn to Congress and say freeze all spending. You've got a budget, live within your budget.
The rich will be fine. It's the middle class that's paying the bill.
I'm afraid we're going to have to live with inflation for quite some time.